Hi guys, it's Blackie. Okay, you asked for it, and here are my top 5 points talking about a vehicle in the winter for going afield. Here's the top 5 points you need to keep in your vehicle. Okay? Number one, and what we're talking about here is not just going back and forth to work, although this is a good idea to keep anytime, but it's a kit, it's some gear to keep in your vehicle to give you some options when you get into a bad way. You might get stranded out there, whatever. And this is going to vary by your environment. You got to see how severe you got to go with this. Right now we're going to talk about winter. We'll do another one of these later on. We'll talk about summer heat and etc. Right now we're talking about winter. So I've got a nice four-wheel drive Pathfinder and I want to go way back in that backcountry type deal. My number one point to give you is a Ghost Rider. Now what is a Ghost Rider? You know when you used to go to the bars and you have a designated driver? Well, you have a friend, sometimes two friends, that you find that may be your wife or it may be some other person that you can trust. And you're going to tell them where you're going and etc. And they're going to be your alarm clock, your Ghost Rider. They're with you, but they're not going. And what I mean is, I say, okay, I'm going to take the Pathfinder and I'm going into that 70,000 acres of Conecuh National Forest over here and I'm going to do some exploring. I'm going in at 11 o'clock in the morning and I should be out by dark, which is going to be about 5 o'clock. If you don't hear from me by 7 p.m., call the authorities and tell them something's happened, okay? That's your alarm clock. So when I'm going in, I text you, I'm heading in now. When I'm coming out, I text you or call you and say, okay, I'm out, I'm back on the road, and everything's good. Otherwise, your Ghost Rider is your alarm clock. If he don't hear from me by 7 p.m. and he tries to get a hold of me and he can't get a hold of me, assume something's gone wrong, call the authorities. He was going in at this gate, he was going to explore this area, he's on a red Pathfinder, here's the tag, here's his information, here's his medical problems, and you give it to the appropriate local, like usually a sheriff department, to contact so they can come and find you. Because if they don't know you're in there, they don't know to come looking for you, do they? So a Ghost Rider is my number one point. This is if I'm going to go on my day off, we're going to go look at this hunting area or whatever. If you're going alone, or even if it's just you and somebody else, you need a Ghost Rider. My second big point, all right, you've got out there and you've got stuck. You've slid down a bank, you've rolled down a bank or whatever, and the vehicle's out of commission and you're possibly injured and ain't going nowhere. Now we go to the more items we're going to need. What I recommend everybody carry is some sort of blanket or whatever in this thing. We're going to get to a combination that works well, but some sort of almost disposable blanket. And these packing blankets, like you get at Harbor Freight or something, relatively cheap, $7 a lot of times on sale, are a good thing to throw in there. Why such a cheap blanket? This isn't going to be the only cover, and that's this point, cover. It's because this is disposable. I can get it muddy, I can get it dirty, I can sacrifice this. It's cheap, see? And also if I come upon a wreck and someone is badly injured and they're shivering or whatever, going in shock, I can take this and give it to them, so if they throw up on it, if they bleed on it or whatever, it don't matter. It's disposable, see? And so some sort of cover element. Now let's upgrade a little bit. Instead of that, maybe I want to carry a sleeping bag or something. If you're in the colder climates, definitely consider a good, strong sleeping bag. Something that's going to get you through the night if you're stranded. See? So I've got a puffy sleeping bag in there that will fit me and keep me warm. And as you can see, also there's two others in here. Now I've thrown some gear in here that I normally carry just for this discussion. But the point being is, I want to have something I can guarantee I got enough warmth, no matter what. Because maybe I'm injured. Maybe I broke a leg or whatever, and I can maneuver around a little bit, but I'm not going anywhere far. I can't walk out. So I got to hunker down in place and wait for rescue. So therefore, I want the ability, if nothing else, to be able to wrap up and try to get through the night. Okay? So, Ghost Rider, cover element. Number 3, food and drink. I carry a small emergency kit with me, and in here there are 3 MREs put into it and other assortment, fire kit, etc. We'll get to that in a minute. A little first aid kit as well as a larger first aid kit up under the seat. So this in a canteen of water or one of them 2-liter bottles 3/4 way filled. Do not fill your canteen all the way to the top because, as you know, whenever the temperature drops, it's going to freeze if it's in the vehicle. So you got to leave something there that it won't burst when it freezes. So fill it like 3/4 way full, give it room to expand. If you're going to use a soda pop bottle or something, same idea. But carry a water supply. Carry some food and drink with you. Along that line, my Grail, our water filter, or one of those life straws with some other container I can dip up water, is very helpful so I can resupply if I have to while I'm there. The whole object of this mindset is I did not come out here to camp. I came out here in my vehicle to explore, to sightsee, scout hunting areas, whatever, and I've got stuck. So therefore, I need to buy time for help to arrive if I cannot self-rescue, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And so I need a little bit of food to keep my fuel, my furnace running, to help me generate the body heat, so those blankets and stuff help keep me warm. See, a Grail or some sort of water filtration would be a good idea to throw in the kit some way so I can capture water locally and filter it for use. Another thing, and we're going to talk about a fire kit in a minute. Can of Sterno. Throw a can of Sterno in there. Why? Sterno is everywhere. It's cheap. And the object of the game here is I just need to heat up that. Make a coffee, make some tea, make some hot chocolate, something like that. I ain't got to have a big elaborate setup. And with this, all I got to do is step off to the side, outside thing, take my heel and kick a hole in the ground, sit this down in it, throw a couple of sticks across the top and set a canteen or something on top of it to heat it up. That and a lighter and I'm good to go. I've got a heat source that I ain't got to go out there and hunt firewood. Again, I may be injured. Now, don't be tempted to use this inside the cab of the car to heat the car. Bad idea. Fumes build up. So use this outside the car. But it's a quick heat source where I can't go forage around because I'm hurt. But I could heat up coffee, heat up soup, heat up whatever. And my food set should reflect that, where I've got something, all I got to do is warm it up. Also, in the foods, they need to be something I could eat cold as well. If I can't do nothing else, I want to be able to eat it cold. So a lot of that shelf-stable stuff you find in Walmart, etc., a package of Spam. Something like that I could eat it straight out of the package. May not be that palatable, but it would work when you got nothing else. Okay? Now, fire kit. I want a rudimentary fire kit in my set. And as I showed just a second ago, in here there's a complete fire kit. That means I have 3 kinds of tinder, 2 of which work when wet, 3 sources of ignition, 2 of which work when they're wet, a lighter and lifeboat matches, and ferro rod. I've got enough in there to get me a good fire going, etc. I got cordage, I got a first aid kit, I got etc. in here ready to go. Another little shelter system in there well, but it makes it something I can utilize. Because if I am trapped out here, what's the best way to get attention? If I am ambulatory and I can move around, and I want help to find me, building a nice big smoky fire is a good way to go, ain't it? Get a fire going. That helps you psychologically and physically because it's warm. And then, once you got a good fire going, drag green stuff and throw on top of it. Make a lot of smoke. Better yet, make 2 fires right close together and build them up, and then throw a bunch of wet leaves or whatever on the first fire, and that's going to dampen it down. But it's going to be thick white smoke, and let it go. When the smoke's about gone, do it again. When that first fire is starting to kind of get smothered down a little bit, kick it, let it go, and start using the second fire. That way I keep a continuous source of smoke. Usually, it isn't long before a landowner shows up wanting to know who's burning down their woods. See, I create enough smoke, a landowner's going to show up. In a forest or a national area, forest rangers and stuff are trained to look for smoke and make sure it isn't a forest fire out there. So if I generate a big enough volume of smoke, somebody's going to show up and say, hey, what's going on out here? And therefore, now, and you guys are in desert conditions or in extreme drought conditions, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Don't start a forest fire. But you see what I mean. I want to generate a big column of smoke to help me get located and to have warmth from the fire. So two fires close together where I can keep them both fed and use one as a big smoke maker and let the other one get a breath of air and then swap back and forth. I can keep in a continuous flow of smoke. And after doing that for about an hour, you've got a long path of smoke going in the dominant wind direction, and people way down away from him going, I smell wood's on fire, and somebody's going to pick up the phone. So therefore, it's a way to communicate long distance. And finally, medical. The fifth point, medical. Have a first aid kit on board that can handle the basic problems. I recommend, if nothing else, carry tampons, maxi pads, duct tape, Band-Aids. Band-Aids work well for fingers, small nicks, cuts, etc. A larger cut, put the maxi pad on it, put tape around it to hold it down. Don't put tape onto the wound, but it's something sterile to hold on to it till you get the medical attention and things like that. That's the idea. A nice first aid kit up under the seat of a vehicle is a great idea, but they're mostly a handful of gauze, a little bit of tape, and a bunch of Band-Aids. Having triple antibiotic ointment to be able to put on something is great. And also inside that med kit have like some Pepto-Bismol or something for upset stomach. Eye drops for if your eyes get, for whatever reason, really aggravated and you can barely see because your eyes are hurting. Having eye drops to put in is a great thing. Any kind of headache medicine or whatever, just small little samples of that. Enough so if you're out there in the field and you just suddenly feel horrible, you've got something you can treat yourself till you get back. Okay? So let's review the 5 points right quick, and then we'll go a little more in depth. 1, you need a cover of some kind, some sort of sleeping bag or something like that to layer up. It's also a good idea to have an extra set of clothes, old clothes, wore out a little bit, that I can put on in case I've got to get myself out. We're going to deal with that in just a second. 2, I need some sort of food and water to buy me some time because I'm stuck out here. 3, I need a medical kit in case of some little boo-boos. 4, I need a fire kit to be able to build a fire for signaling and to keep myself warm out here. And of course, number 5 is most important. You need a ghost rider so that they know you're going in, what your itinerary is, the basic area you're going to, and etc. So they've got an idea. Even better, guys, in this modern age, you contact your buddy that's going to be your ghost rider, and you send him the picture of the place where you've been researching this thing, and here was where I was looking, here's whatever, and you send him an email detailing what you're planning on doing with, here it is on the map, and pictures of the map, and etc., that you went and find that area on the map. Send him screenshots of that so that when he hands that off to law enforcement and the search and recovery team, they got a real good working idea where you're at. Now, let's talk for just a second about self-recovery, and you should have self-recovery tools with the vehicle if you're going afield. Having a jack, spare tire, and etc. Can of Fix-A-Flat, absolutely necessary. Duct tape, absolutely necessary. Some sort of entrenching tool where I can help dig myself out of a little, if I get in a little stuck area where it's not bogged down to the axles, but I need to make a little bit of room and, put something up under the tire to give you some traction to get out, this is invaluable. Also, if something has got to cross the road and I need to get it out of the way, this can be invaluable to help pry it and roll it out of the way to get it out of the way of the road. So some sort of entrenching tool. Of course, a basic toolkit and etc. Now, the Ranger roll. For those of you that don't know, a Ranger roll is a U.S. Army poncho or a big poncho. Inside of that poncho is then a casualty blanket or a reusable space blanket, civilians call it. And then inside of that is a poncho liner or a woobie. They all hook together and form this roll, commonly called a Ranger roll in the military. Now to this kit I have added this that I picked up Christmas a while back, one of them kit sets, where it's a Gerber knife. It's got a 90-degree spine right there for using a ferro rod, and then it comes with a ferro rod on it. So I've got a fire kit and I've got a little knife and this with it. Now this, in conjunction with my other gear that I've just talked about, means that this handles a lot of the shelter covers. I can also build a shelter with this if it's where I've just snow's just pouring down everywhere or severe weather. I'm going to just stay in the vehicle. But if it's where it's not and I can get out of the vehicle and get over here and get a fire going and put one of these up as a shelter reflector, something to wrap up with to get me through, a Ranger roll. This Ranger roll stays in the vehicle. So what's the master plan here? Redundancy. I have multiple little backups for backups. That way I'm covered. A flashlight, absolutely a great idea. Lighter, absolutely a great idea. A notebook to write down things. I want to stay with the vehicle if I get trapped out here. They can find that vehicle. If I have to walk out, I need to write down and put on the dash inside the glass where you can look in and see, to tell any rescuers what I am doing. I'm going to walk back up the road, turn left, follow that road till it hits the side, walk back to try to walk out. So if they find this, they know where I went. Little things like that make your life easy. We don't want to get stuck. We don't want to get out here and get trapped. But if we do, those 5 things will make recovery a whole lot easier. Hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you have, please hit that like button and comment for me before you go. It'll help feed the algorithm. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.